The Greenbrier Ghost, the spirit that solved her own case. In the rolling hills of Greenbrier County, West Virginia, the year is 1897, a time when the line between the living and the dead felt paper-thin. A young woman named Elva Zona Heaster Shue is found lifeless at the foot of her staircase, her body twisted in an unnatural pose, her death quickly ruled a tragic accident. But as her body is laid to rest, a restless spirit begins to stir. 4 nights in a row, Elva's ghost appears to her grieving mother, her voice a hollow whisper, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth, revealing a horrifying truth. Her death was no accident. It was murder, and the killer walks free. Welcome to Legends Unveiled, where we unravel the deepest mysteries of history. Tonight, we delve into a case that defies belief, the Greenbrier Ghost, the spirit that spoke from the grave to solve her own unsolved death. Scene 2, the village of Greenbrier, a world on edge. Greenbrier County in 1897 was a rural patchwork of farms and small communities, nestled in the heart of Appalachia, where faith and folklore were woven into daily life. The people here were deeply superstitious. Tales of spirits, omens, and vengeful ghosts were whispered around hearths, and the idea of a spirit seeking justice wasn't dismissed. It was a possibility that sent shivers down the spine. Elva Zona Heaster, a 23-year-old woman with a complicated past, had recently married a blacksmith named Edward Shue, known as Erasmus, or Trout, to the locals. Zona had a child out of wedlock years earlier, a scandal that marked her in the eyes of the community, and her mother, Mary Jane Heaster, was fiercely protective, distrusting Shue from the moment they met. Their union was swift, but whispers of unease followed. Shue was a stranger with a dark history, and on January 23, 1897, tragedy struck, a quiet death in a quiet town, or so it seemed. Scene 3, the suspicious death, a killer's charade. A neighbor boy, sent by Shue to run an errand, found Elva Zona Heaster Shue dead at the foot of her stairs, her eyes wide open, her body cold, a scream frozen on her lips. The local doctor, George Knapp, arrived, but Shue had already taken control. He had dressed her in a high-necked gown, covered her face with a veil, and refused to let anyone near, claiming grief. Knapp's examination was rushed. Shue cradled Elva's head, sobbing, preventing a proper inspection. And the doctor noted only a few bruises before declaring her death natural, likely a fainting spell that led to a fatal fall. At the funeral, Shue's behavior grew stranger. He propped a pillow under Elva's head in the coffin, claiming it was for her comfort, and stayed by her side, his grief a performance that masked a sinister truth. Elva was buried in the Soul Chapel Cemetery, but her mother's heart was heavy with doubt. Mary Jane sensed something darker, and she prayed for a sign, a plea that would soon be answered in the most chilling way. Scene 4, the ghostly visitations, a mother's revelation. Mary Jane Heaster's prayers echoed into the night. Her daughter's death felt wrong, and her suspicions centered on Shue, a man with a violent past. 2 previous wives, one dead under mysterious circumstances, the other beaten and divorced. 4 weeks after the burial, something extraordinary happened. For 4 consecutive nights, Elva's spirit appeared to her mother, first as a glowing light, then taking human form, her presence filling the room with a chilling cold, the air thick with the scent of damp earth. Her voice a hollow whisper that seemed to come from the shadows. The ghost revealed that Shue had murdered her in a fit of rage. Believing she hadn't prepared meat for his dinner, he had beaten her, then snapped her neck, turning her head completely around as she spoke, a gruesome detail that would soon prove pivotal. Elva's spirit begged her mother to seek justice, to ensure her killer faced the consequences, then vanished, leaving Mary Jane with a mission that would change history. Scene 5. The investigation reopens, a ghost's testimony. Determined to honor her daughter's plea, Mary Jane went to the local prosecutor, John Preston, spending hours in his office, recounting the ghostly visitations and demanding he reopen the case. Preston was skeptical. Ghost stories weren't evidence, but the community's belief in the supernatural gave her words weight. Many locals whispered that Mary Jane's visions were real, a spirit's cry for justice in a land steeped in folklore. Preston began questioning those who had seen Elva's body, the neighbor boy, the doctor, and Shue, whose story began to unravel. He claimed ignorance, but his past painted a darker picture. On February 22, 1897, Preston ordered an exhumation, a rare and drastic step. Elva's body was unearthed, and an autopsy revealed the truth. Her neck was broken, her windpipe crushed, signs of a violent struggle, exactly as the ghost had described. Shue was arrested, the community's outrage boiling over. A mob nearly lynched him before he was taken into custody, but could a ghost's testimony hold up in court? Scene 6. The trial, a spirit's influence. The trial of Edward Shue began in June 1897, drawing a crowd to the Greenbrier County Courthouse. The case was a sensation, not just for the murder, but for the spectral witness at its heart. Mary Jane took the stand, recounting her daughter's ghostly visits in vivid detail, her voice steady as she described the glowing figure, the chilling cold, and the horrifying revelation of the broken neck. Shue sat stone-faced, showing no emotion as the ghost story unfolded, a chilling contrast to the courtroom's gasps. The autopsy evidence was undeniable. Elva had been murdered, and Shue's history, 2 wives, 1 dead, 1 abused, painted him as a violent man. The jury deliberated, and while the ghost's testimony wasn't admissible as evidence, it had sparked the investigation. Shue was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison, a verdict that sent ripples through the community, a triumph of justice or a triumph of the supernatural. Scene 7. The legacy, a haunting justice. Edward Shue's life sentence was cut short. He died in 1900 during a prison epidemic, likely of pneumonia, his name forever tied to the Greenbrier Ghost. Mary Jane Heaster never recanted her account. She passed in 1916, steadfast in her belief that Elva's spirit had sought justice from beyond the grave. A historical marker near the Soul Chapel Cemetery commemorates the case, noting it as the only known instance where testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer, a claim that has sparked debate for over a century. The story inspired local folklore, books, and even a 1930s play, The Greenbrier Ghost, performed across West Virginia, cementing its place in Appalachian legend. Some argue Mary Jane's story was a clever fabrication, a way to push Preston to act. Others believe Elva's spirit truly intervened. Unable to rest until her killer was brought to justice, the Greenbrier Ghost remains a haunting enigma, a reminder that sometimes the dead refuse to stay silent. Scene 8. Theories: what really happened. The Greenbrier Ghost case raises questions that linger to this day. What really happened in those fateful weeks of 1897? Some believe Mary Jane fabricated the ghost story, a grieving mother's desperate ploy to expose a killer she already suspected. Her intuition about the broken neck, perhaps a lucky guess, or a detail she pieced together from the funeral. Others suggest the visitations were a product of psychological trauma, Mary Jane's grief, manifesting as vivid dreams or hallucinations, the stress of losing her daughter in such a suspicious way, pushing her mind to the edge. But for those who believe in the supernatural, Elva's ghost was real, a restless spirit who crossed the veil to ensure justice, her detailed account of the murder too accurate to dismiss. The fields of Greenbrier County hold their secrets close, but the echo of Elva's voice lingers, a whisper from beyond that demands to be heard. What do you believe? Scene 9. Conclusion: a mystery beyond the grave. More than 120 years have passed since Elva Zona Heaster Shue's death, yet her story continues to captivate, a chilling intersection of justice, grief, and the supernatural. Was Mary Jane Heaster a grieving mother who used a ghost story to expose a killer? Or did Elva's spirit truly cross the veil to ensure her murderer faced judgment? The Greenbrier Ghost remains one of history's most haunting enigmas, a tale that challenges the boundaries between life and death, reality, and the unknown. What do you think? Was the Greenbrier Ghost a spectral avenger or a mother's desperate plea for justice, cloaked in the language of the supernatural? Drop your theory in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more journeys into the unknown right here on Legends Unveiled.